the singing is a bit ridiculous today. It's kind of upbeat because, hell, Jeannine, I'm in a good mood. Don't ask me why I'm in a good mood, but I'm in a good mood. Maybe it's because it's for another episode of Morgan Hasn't Seen, and maybe, just maybe, these were my two favourite Fast and Furious movies.
Wow. Yay. That makes me very happy, Morgan.
Which ones are we talking about today?
We are talking about Fast 5 and Fast and Furious 6.
Or to use its alternative title card title, Furious 6.
Furious 6.
Which is very confusing, like all the names of the Fast and Furious movies are.
And the timeline itself, yes. It's all
and the timeline itself, which admittedly is something I have gotten used to in terms of the timeline, even though, you know, the end of this, the end of Fast and Furious 6 is the end of Tokyo Drift, which takes place 6 years before, and I'm confused again.
Yeah. So all of this that you just saw takes place before Tokyo Drift.
Which is weird when you consider that they were using flip phones in Tokyo Drift. And in Fast and Furious 6, it looks like, you know, today, even though,
I'm just
you know,
excited
it's still...
for you to see 18-year-old Lucas Black be 18 like 7 years later.
Oh, yeah. Anyway, guys, hello. This is Morgan Hasn't Seen. I am Morgan. I haven't seen things. That is Jeannine. She forces me to see things. And we are right well and truly in there's no turning back at all now from the Fast and Furious series that we are in the middle of. And like I said, like Jeannine said before, today we're talking Fast 5 and Fast and Furious 6. Which, yeah, right off the bat, are my two favourites so far. I know you're always telling me to start, you know, ranking my movies, even though I'm inherently kind of against ranking. But we did it for the MCU back when we did our episode on Endgame. We did our MCU first 3 phases ranking, and speaking of the MCU, Phase 4 just announced, so yay.
Yes, very interesting things.
But we're not necessarily here to talk about that today. But for those who want my ranking of the first 6 Fast and Furious movies, it's, you know, 5, 6, 4, 1, 2, 3. 5, 6, 4, 1, 2, 3. And I like 5 of them. I didn't like Tokyo Drift, Jeannine. I just didn't.
I know. Which is kind of the general consensus. Most people don't like Tokyo Drift, and most people love 5 and say it's their favorite and say that's kind of where this series took off for them. So,
I mean, it's easy to see why 5 is a lot of people's favourites, and I would say mine currently as well, is because it definitely feels the most legit action movie of the ones so far, at least.
And I think this is what you were expecting this whole time. Like, when you saw the first one, you were expecting something like this going into the series, I think.
Yeah. Obviously the whole team, which
silly action sequences,
Yeah, which really does help 5. I actually felt a little bit underwhelmed by 5 sort of first act. But once the team gets together, I thought Hobbs' introduction scene was pretty good. But then, like, the rest of the stuff with him up until the end, I didn't really care for.
No?
Too much.
So you're not excited that he's gotten his own spinoff at this point?
Well, yeah, now.
2 films?
Yeah, now. But I'm talking like during me watching Fast 5. I liked his I thought his introduction scene was great. But then, like, all the stuff where he and his team are in the favelas, sort of hunting whether it's Dom and everybody down, or whether it's the Reyes, whoever he is. I didn't really care about that as much as I did what Dom and the team were doing.
And you didn't really expect that he was the one like hunting them as well. So they
No,
had like
that's true.
Reyes' guys hunting them as well as The Rock and his team. But you
Yeah.
didn't even know that that's what The Rock was doing in this.
No, I had no idea that, the Rock Hobbs came from any sort of, law and order background.
And tasked to find the team.
Yeah, I just thought he was a new team member that had got found up from somewhere. I don't know why I thought that. I don't know what I was thinking to think that, but I did originally think that.
So you didn't find it interesting that he was tasked to find them? You kind of liked it when he made that change
Yeah,
of deciding to actually team up with them?
yeah, I liked that.
Okay.
Because, yeah, I mean, I guess it's fair to see why. I just like seeing The Rock interact with them all, rather than be sort of on his own little quest with his little group of bulletproof vest wearing SWAT team or whatever it was.
Guys. Under Armour, tight wearing, sweaty, multicultural team.
I mean, maybe it's just the fact that I just really felt that Dom Toretto's team needed another strong, bald guy.
Yeah. And
Because,
I actually really liked how they incorporated him into the team. Like, you think
yeah.
how's this going to go? He's manhunting them and whatever. But then it works out that he joins their team because his team gets killed by Reyes. So now he's kind of on their side, and they end up saving his life as well. So I like that they gave him like a pure reason to want to join their team. And then when everyone is kind of like, we're not going to be with you, Dom, this is crazy to go after this guy. And then the first one to say, I'm going to go with you was The Rock. That was really nice.
I mean, there is an abundance of strong, bald men in that team, though. There is. I mean, do you class Ludacris as being bald now? Even because he's got like a shaved head.
I wouldn't say he's bald.
Okay, so
he doesn't have the afro he was introduced.
No, I'm sad about that. The highlight of Too Fast, Too Furious was Ludacris's afro comb.
His afro pick all up in his hair.
Yeah, it was the absolute highlight of. But yeah, I mean, like, everybody's either got a shaved head or he's bald, apart from Han. And obviously Gal Gadot.
We actually had a nice head of hair, Han.
Yeah, Han's got everybody else's hair that they should have. If Han divided his own hair up into everybody else, everybody could actually might have a little bit of hair. I don't know, it's weird.
Are you offended by these bald men?
I'm not offended. I'm not offended, but there's nothing wrong with baldness. I'm just saying, everybody's bald. Right? For the diversity of the team in Fast and Furious, there is very little hair diversity.
And a lot of teeth.
And a lot of teeth, which you, for some reason, can't look past.
I don't know. I'm sorry, Jordana Brewster. You had perfectly fine teeth in the first Fast and Furious movie. Why did you shave your teeth down and get these crazy chiclet-looking veneers that are too big for your mouth? And now you have these crazy-looking teeth. And I'm sorry, it just distracts me at times when she's talking and she has these giant teeth. I'm like, oh, Brian, watch out. I'm just going to bite your face off. So I'm sorry. That's just something that I've noticed since the first movie. That she now has chiclets in her face, and but I digress. That's not important.
Jordana Brewster, admittedly, I do not notice or look at your teeth quite as much as Jeannine does, and ultimately kind of do not care.
Okay. But
You
did you
are.
care about the fact that she revealed she is pregnant?
You know what? I did. And I remember back in when we did the first episode of this series, where we talked about the first two movies, that kind of her and Brian's romance was kind of my least favourite thing about the first one.
Yeah.
Now I care about it.
Yeah, especially because they're on the run, and how are they going to do this? And they're in this crazy life. How is that
Yeah.
all going to play out? Yeah.
Now I really do care about it, and I really felt their chemistry in these two movies, but I
Yeah,
think
and acting wise, I think they've stepped it up as well since the first movie.
absolutely. I think everybody has stepped it up, and you got glimpses of that starting to happen in 4.
Yeah.
But yeah, really, in Fast 5 just has everything right going for it. The acting is better. The characters I end up caring about more. I've always
And they
liked
do a lot.
Dom
Oh, go ahead.
Toretto, but I mean, this, and like we said at the end of last episode, I was sad we didn't get to see the breakout from Dom Toretto's prison boss.
And you got to see it.
And we got to see that right at the start of Fast 5. So that was perfect.
Yeah. And I feel like they did a lot of like nice things too. You know, everyone jokes about the family element or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, it's all over the place, though. It is
But
just
I
like...
liked the little nods that they like threw in there, you know, like Dom is trying to separate to keep them safe, but Mia keeps saying, no, we need to stay together, you
Yeah.
know. And then even just that moment once Brian finds out he's going to be a father, him and Dom have this moment where he's asking him, hey, what do you remember about your dad? And Dom's telling these great stories
Yeah.
about how he remembers everything about his dad, how he used to have these Sunday barbecues and he used to help Mia with her homework.
Yeah.
And then, you know, Brian realizing, oh, I don't know anything about my dad and I don't remember anything about him, and him kind of being scared if, you know, he's going to be a good dad. So I like that they took the time with all the action and all the characters. I like that they took that time to breathe a little bit and give you more sense of why family is such a big part of the series, and giving these characters these moments like that, like, because, you know, like we said, that did kind of show a little bit of an elevation in Paul Walker's acting, and giving him more kind
Absolutely.
of, yeah, instead of action, you get some really interesting dialogue that develops the plot, develops the characters. So I appreciated that a lot.
Yeah, and kind of what's also like really impressive about Fast 5 is that even with these little breaks to do a little bit more of this personal stuff, and obviously the whole getting the team together, and you have to have time to have everyone meet each other, and that's really fun, and then they're getting to know each other, but yet it always feels kind of non-stop with the action as well. There's no
Yeah.
part of it where I was thinking, okay, we haven't had anything happen for quite a while. It's very, very well paced.
Oh yeah, definitely. You
And-
get these nuggets of action packed in with the introductions of the characters, because yeah, you have a lot of characters here, but everyone kind of gets a moment,
Oh, absolutely.
and you get to know them, you get to care about them, and still get all the action. So you get everything you want, and I feel like there's no wasted moments really, or like dragging moments for me personally. So I think
No.
that's why that this is a huge favorite of everybody's, because
It's-
everything kind of just works, and it elevates the franchise to a whole nother level.
Yeah, I mean, this isn't a team like Suicide Squad, which had a lot of team members and focused on like 4 of them. This actually does take good time to make you care about every one of them, even those. And admittedly, I forget the names, but those 2 Spanish-speaking guys.
And I think they're actually like Spanish rappers or something, I want to say.
But I
But
mean,
yeah, they kind of reminded me of those 2 twin bugs in A Bug's Life. Those circus
yeah,
bugs.
I mean, they're kind of definitely the stupidest 2.
Yeah, they remind me of those 2 like arguing circus beetles from
Yeah.
The Bug's Life.
That's true. That's so true, actually. That's funny. I love Bugs Life doesn't get the love it deserves, and
No, it does not.
I know we can't go back and watch Bugs Life now because of certain people voicing in Bugs Life, which is a shame because I love Bugs Life.
Yeah.
I really
But
do.
yes.
Let's redo the voice, and then we can all enjoy Bugs Life again. I'd be happy with that. Can I redo the voice? I'd be a good Hopper.
Well, at least he's the bad guy and he gets his comeuppance. So.
Can we not have David Harbour do it instead, just so we can play two Hoppers? Yeah.
Wow, that's
I'm about
smart,
that.
Smart
We could have
there.
David Harbour would be. No, maybe he's too sweet. Maybe he's got too much of a heart.
Yeah, I can't take his meanness too seriously.
Hopper the grasshopper. But yeah, anyway, Bugs Life Talk. Welcome to Bugs Life Talk. We're not here talking about Bugs Life, but yeah, even those two get their little moments.
And I love that, just like, I mean, in general, just getting to see like how much they value what they've done so far to bring everybody back. That was just really fun because you're like, oh my gosh, that's the person from that movie. Oh my gosh, that's the one from that movie. And you see them kind of trying to build this universe, which, yes, it's a little bit sloppy, but I feel like it's really creative that they brought everybody back to be this team.
Yeah, definitely. And I really
people
like.
You didn't think you were ever going to see again because you've heard like behind the scenes stories like, okay, yeah, they only had Tyrese because Vin Diesel didn't want to come back. So you didn't think, anything from 2 was ever going to even be referred to again or anything like that. And then you see Roman come back and everybody from 4. And yeah, it's really fun.
It is fun as well to see them all meet each other because they're kind of hostile at first.
Yeah. I love the back and forth also between Tej and Roman, Ludacris and Tyrese. That's always really fun.
Yeah, because they've obviously got a history that we saw into.
Yeah.
So yeah, that they are kind of funny, and they play off each other really well as well. I think Tyrese really does well playing off everybody.
Yeah.
He's definitely the funniest of them all, and he's.
And that line, that terrible line. Oh my gosh, who wrote that?
What's this terrible line you speak of, Jeannine?
It's like Storm. What happens to a frog? They get struck by lightning levels of a line.
What happens to a toad when it gets struck by lightning? The same thing that happens to everything else.
Yeah.
Stupid X-Men.
Yeah, this mission went from Mission Impossible to Mission in frickin' Sanity. I hate that line so much. And Paul Walker, you could just see him looking at him like, oh my God, that was ridiculous.
You
literally see Paul Walker look at him when he says that, like, dude. Chuckles. He just chuckles like, oh my God, that line.
Does that not sound like a Roman PS line though?
It does. Mission and frickin' Sanity. I'm like, oh, I just don't know. It just sounds so silly to me.
Roman Pierce is a very silly character though, and that's why he's kind of very likable. Obviously,
yes, that's why like they set him up. We need somebody who's a good talker, who can be the mouth, who can like distract people with his nonsense, and that's his purpose. And I love that they need that.
Yeah, and I especially like it in 6, and we'll get onto it. He has a little bit of banter with The Rock.
Oh my God!
And
into that. That's great.
It's pretty funny. I mean, it's kind of throughout. You do get a little bit in this of him. Because he kind of takes jabs at everybody.
He does.
And he kind of gets it back straight away.
Yeah, especially him and Tej, for sure.
Him and Tej. And yeah, because Ludacris is going on about his huge forehead even then. Even in 5.
Yeah.
And it is funny. And it is... Fast 5 is exactly what I thought the Fast and Furious movies were. However... I always thought they were just stupid. And Fast 5 really isn't stupid. It's a very kind of legit action movie. There's pretty much no sort of silliness in it.
No, and
Other
there's
than
like a lot
those,
of smart heisty stuff in there as well.
yeah. I mean, I say there's no silliness in it. Obviously, there's the comedy in it, but it's not like silliness to the point of Tokyo Drift or even Too Fast, Too Furious,
Yeah,
where
it's
there's
really
stuff
about the
that
story, the
happens.
heist, and it's like some really smart stuff in there, like the fact that they're going up against another drug lord, but he's so ingrained in like all his crime that like all his money and all his stuff is like hidden in the police station, so they can't
Yeah.
like how are they going to go about robbing him if he's like got all the cops on his side and all his money's hidden in the police station,
Yeah.
and the whole thing with trying to find a car, and then they realize, okay, a car that could be invisible is actually a cop car. Like just really smart, interesting
Yeah.
plot aspects like that I really liked.
And there's little lines of like, bet you never thought you'd be driving a cop car, and it's just like, yeah, I've never been in one from this side.
Side, yeah.
It's, uh-huh. What a blatant reference to your criminal past, but it's nice.
Yeah.
But it's nice. I also like the fact that it's in Brazil, because I always think the favelas, as kind of horrendous living conditions as they are really cool to shoot a movie in.
Yeah, that whole chase.
And that whole chase,
Jumping from rooftops. Yeah.
the rooftops, it's built for that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, it's obviously not built for that sort of stuff. It's built to house poor, unfortunate human beings. But in terms of a movie, it works perfectly to have like a cool rooftop scene. And I know
Like,
people.
Didn't that happen in The Incredible Hulk? That was in Brazil, wasn't it? And he was running away from
Oh
Tim
yes, I
Roth
think it
and stuff.
did. Was
Running
that
on
in?
rooftops, and
Was that in Brazil?
I want to say because he was speaking Portuguese, right?
I don't remember, but I will take your word from it. For
I
it,
don't know.
I shouldn't say. I will take your word for it, Ginny. But yeah, that action scene's really. All the action is great, and I mean, yeah, there's some little tiny instances of it being a little bit over the top, but you also kind of expect that and almost want it to a point.
Yeah, because you kind of have that vibe of like 90s action movies with like Stallone and Schwarzenegger where things are, and Nicolas Cage. Like, you get these silly kinds of action set pieces, but it's so much fun.
Yeah. Exactly. It really is. Fast Five really is a great movie. I really, really had a lot of fun with Fast Five, and I like that it felt like the most legit action movie out of them all, and it brought the whole team, and just everything worked perfectly for me with Fast Five. Some 7, 8, Hobbs and Shaw when we get onto Hobbs and Shaw, and even Fast 9 when that comes out. Is it next year?
I think so. I think it's filming right now.
They'll have to do something pretty special, I think, to top Fast Five for me, and that might be a boring take from me going with seemingly everybody else into what their favourite one of them is, but it's kind of a no-brainer. It's kind of obvious to why everybody thinks Fast Five is the best one.
Yeah, it's like a culmination of all the movies you've seen so far. Reminds you of things. And yeah, you even get Vince back from the first one, which is kind of cool and unexpected.
Yeah, there is a lot of that. There's a lot of that throughout the series of people coming in who you don't really expect to see any more of, and it just working really well.
It's not forced.
I mean, we haven't got on to Lucas Black yet, so maybe that will be the exception. The exception there.
Well, you don't get much of him. You get enough of him to where it kind of picks up after that whole cameo that he has, and they have that big race.
Yeah.
You don't see the race; it just kind of ends, but then you see like post race them talking about what happened to Hunt. So
Okay.
that's all you really get of Lucas Black. You don't get him like on the team or anything.
Thank God.
Because I don't think they could disguise him not being 18. And he probably wasn't even 18 when he filmed that movie. He was probably like mid-20s.
Oh,
So
yeah.
add like 6-7 years to that.
Dude's 47 playing an 18-year-old.
Yeah.
It's like getting get Keanu to play a 16-year-old. That's what we need. Well, Keanu could probably do it.
That new technology.
No, no, we're not talking about de-aging here. We're talking about pure,
just pure pretend,
pure natural youthfulness.
pure imagination.
We're talking about pure imagination. I always do enjoy talking about pure imagination with anybody, particularly you, Jeannine. Go and check out the episode of It's a Wonderful Podcast, episode 47, talking Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, where I was joined by Jeannine and Brandon, and we talked about pure imagination. That was a shameless plug right there. And don't we just love shameless plugs every now and again? I also like, in 5, how you get to see the start of Han and Gal Gadot's little relationship situation.
Yeah, it's very sweet. And you get quite a few Tokyo
Oh, yes, you do.
When are you heading to Tokyo, Han? Oh, not yet.
Han, remember you were in you want to go to Tokyo. Remember, guys, audience.
He hasn't been to Tokyo yet, member. So this is before Tokyo Drift. Yeah. He hasn't made it to Tokyo yet, member. Yeah.
Remember when? Remember a few movies ago when it was in Tokyo and Han was there. But we're just reminding you again. This is before that. It's very blatant and it's kind of annoying at parts and it's kind of funny, but you just go with it at this point. Yes. I think this is what Fast and Furious, to take a cynical view of it, this might be what Fast and Furious has done. It may have, I don't know, may have just made me accept silliness, the silliness of itself, so much by showing me enough silliness in its first 3 movies to make any further movies, the silliness in those movies just go over my head as just like, okay, I don't care anymore. It's kind of fun. Very clever from the Fast and the Furious to make you like the silliness you once disliked. Very smart of the Fast and the Furious.
What you expected to dislike.
What I expected to dislike, I'm now liking, and I can't explain that. I need a psychologist. You are not a psychologist.
You just need me to make you watch these movies.
Jeannine, you are not a psychologist. You can't do that. You can't get into my mind. You can't tell me.
I haven't already.
I mean, maybe. I don't know.
Well, now that I've actually gotten you into ranking things, how does Reyes rank on your list of villains so far?
Ooh. Well, who do you class as the villain of the first movie?
I guess that Asian gang. I don't know.
Oh yeah. See that?
See, okay. You didn't even remember.
No, very forgettable. 2 had Eva Mendes and her, but I like 2 because they all looked like they belonged in Scarface.
Yes.
3.
And you had some torture scenes there.
Oh yeah, that was good. It was very Scarface.
Make him very menacing.
3, you had 3. I mean, admittedly, you did have Sonny Chiba as the Yakuza boss, which does help.
And the DK.
A lot. 4, you had Braga, who was good. I actually really liked Braga. I actually think Braga might.
Twist on them.
I actually think Braga might be a better villain than Reyes.
And we see Braga again.
And we see Braga again in 6. I actually think Braga might be a better villain than Reyes.
Okay.
However, moving on to 6 just for a little bit, I actually think Shaw's the best.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
Owen Shaw. Not Jason Statham. Which I learnt for the first time watching this movie. That there are 2 Shaws.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would say that. I like Reyes. He was very kind of general. And I just felt like Braga had a little more about him.
And I did like Reyes's end. Help me. Bam, bam. That was for my team. Like, he just
Yeah.
gets
He didn't get
immediately killed by the Rock.
He did not get a glorified ending
No,
at
the Rock
all.
just said, hell no. I'm killing you. You killed my team. You son of a bitch. Loved it.
Yeah,
Very 90s action, that kill.
it's very nice. It works a lot, and
As Brandon would say, get fucked.
well, yes, Brandon would say. I would not say that.
When no one gets killed.
You
say,
sometimes would
they
say
just
that.
got fucked. Yeah.
I
Just so you know.
no. It's very, very loud and abrasive of Brandon, and that goes against it. That goes against his entire character. He is not loud or abrasive. Therefore, I disagree with his decision to say that.
To shout that every time a villain gets killed.
Yes, I entirely disagree with that. I'm sorry. I'm sorry if it offends you, Brandon. I apologise. But yeah, no, I just think Braga has a bit more personality. I think he has a bit more charisma, and with the twist, little twisty twist, and it's almost like in Fast 5, Hobbs is a little bit of the villain, little bit, until he's not.
You got that fight with him and Vin Diesel.
You did, and that was very good.
Which I think
Again,
people wanted to see them go head to head like that.
Two bald guys fighting strong
Wrestling.
bald guys. I mean, who's who? I can't tell.
One's a little bit sweatier than the other.
I mean, yeah, one does use baby oil, and one is Vin Diesel. One's also a lot taller and Samoan.
Yes.
And
which you get some nice little funny nods about Samoan Thor.
Samoan Thor. Is that in 6, though?
Yes.
That's funny.
But
I like that.
Speaking
Samoan
of Thor, we get Mrs. Thor herself, Mrs. Hemsworth, Elsa Pataki joins the cast. What did you think of her character?
Yeah. And she's Hobbs's sort of right-hand woman.
Yeah, he picks a cop to help him out who knows the area, and he knows that she can't really be corrupted because she joined the force, you know, after her husband was killed by corrupt cops, I guess, or by Reyes or something terrible. So he knows he can trust her. But then she also kind of makes a bond with Vin Diesel because of their losses.
Yeah, I mean, I like her.
She looks into his crimes and sees, you know, he kind of did things he had reasons for doing what he did, and so maybe he's not as bad as what his record shows him to be.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing that's almost the point of these movies, really. These aren't bad people. The team of criminals are not bad people at all.
No.
They're very good people that just do that go about things that's wrong way.
The illegal way.
The illegal
I wouldn't say
way.
it's wrong. I just
I suppose it's not right. The illegal way. It would be nice if it was legal, and we could all do this. I mean, we could do it. We could get a safe
and pull it down the street.
We could get a safe, pull it down the street, and go and live in the Canary Islands. We could do that.
So what did you think of that big finale? Just to kind of close out before we move on to 6.
I mean, yeah, it's a great action scene. It's a great long action scene. It kept my whole attention. There's no faults I can have with the action in Fast 5.
Yeah,
at all.
With that whole ending, you get that twist of it, and you get to see that everyone was kind of utilized there.
Yeah, everybody had a part to play. You do get the little switchy switch twist. Even though it's not really a twist, it's just more of a switchy switch, but it's very clever.
Yeah.
And they get one over on the Rock, who's kind of half on the team, and you know, I can't let you go, Toretto. He's like, that's
So
okay.
I give you 24-hour head start. That's what you've earned.
But you
saved
leave-
my life, and
Yeah.
we took down this criminal who killed my team, and yeah,
Leave
so
them-
you earned your head start.
Leave the money as well. And of course he leaves the safe. But the switchy switch happened. And
So they
it's...
get all their monies.
And you know what? The Rock respects them for that.
Yes.
And herein lies the lesson, is be a smart thief and you will gain respect. No, that's probably not the lesson. It's probably a bad moral to take from the movies. I don't know. I'm now thinking about a potential criminal career. No, I'm not. Don't worry. But yeah, I just like that. And I also happen to like The Rock with a goatee. I think he looks good with a goatee.
Yeah, it made him look more man on the hunt, I think.
It also makes his face look... I've always had this thing about The Rock in that he kind of looks like some sort of otherworldly god. Kind of looks more human with a beard.
Okay.
He doesn't look like a statue.
Okay.
You know what I
Or
mean?
Like the scorpion.
The Rock-
Like the scorpion.
Dwayne
king.
Johnson... No, oh, God.
Well, that's
Dwayne
another
Johnson-
world of God, essentially.
It is. I mean, it is. But Dwayne Johnson looks like a statue of some sort of ancient god. He does. That's his own work and his weeks and years and decades spent in the gym. And credit to Dwayne Johnson. But I just like the fact that he looked a little more human with a beard.
Okay. I could see
And that's a weird... That's my weird take of Fast Five for you. But we should move on to Fast and Furious 6, Jeannine.
Yeah.
Even though we didn't hear what you thought about Fast Five at all, because I was talking too much again.
I said a lot about what I enjoyed about that movie. I feel like everything worked. I liked seeing all the team come back together from all the various films. That was really fun. The action was really great. I like that they took time to give nuggets of personality and story to these people, so you actually cared about all of them, because there was a lot to accomplish here, and I feel like everything worked and they didn't waste any moments. And yeah, the heisty stuff, took a more kind of serious turn. It did have the comedy and did have kind of some of the extreme action elements, but it still felt very serious, like a heist movie, and I think that's kind of why this one has been hailed as most people's favorite in the series. And I feel like it grew the series and took it in a really interesting direction.
I should also bring up that the safe chase scene, the whole big long action scene with the safe at the end, very clearly ripped off and the start of Pirates 5, Dead Men Tell No Tales, to very poor effect. It's quite ridiculous in that particular movie, and less ridiculous.
Yeah.
And fortunately, I saw Pirates 5 before I saw Fast 5. So I was thinking, wait a minute, this is
I've seen this
Pirates
before.
5. It was stupid in Pirates 5. It was less
here-
stupid in this.
Good.
Which is I'm thankful about. But Fast and Furious 6, Jeannine, what do you think first? Because I like to hear your thoughts. This is, for God's sake, I hate being selfish, and I feel like I'm often being selfish on this show,
Not at
which
all.
is very
I think
bad
people
of me.
wanna- Well, I feel like people want to hear your thoughts as somebody who is new to this and who hasn't seen these movies. So that's why I kind of like to question you more and then kind of chime in with my thoughts here and there. But I feel like people want to hear your thoughts, considering you felt like this was going to be ridiculous going into it, and as somebody who's never seen these movies before.
I mean, I recognise that the name of the show is Morgan Hasn't Seen, with Morgan Robinson and Jeannine Brice. Because we can't forget that, but like, I also feel like you're more prominent on the logo.
Oh,
So,
hey, you get to be in the O.
yes, but you're also sat on the words, which is very nice. And I like that. And, yeah.
I've trapped you in that O because I have all the power.
See, there's a lot more that goes into designing these logos than you might think. There is symbolism here.
Yes.
There is
I hope
symbolism
everyone
at play.
picked up on that. But yes,
Did it?
6.
6. Would anybody care to write an essay about the symbolism in the logos of It's a Wonderful Podcast and Morgan Hasn't Seen? It can be somebody's dissertation.
Dissertation, yeah, I was just gonna say that. But yeah, I think I this was the first time I ever saw Luke Evans in anything, so I really did like him as Shaw, as
Owen Shaw.
Yes.
I think the first time I saw Luke Evans was in The Hobbit 2, The Desolation of Smaug,
Smaug,
where he played that one dude who I forget, Bard. He played Bard. My inner geekdom knowledge, yes.
Yes.
He played
yes.
Bard, who lived in Lake Town with his 2 kids, and the master of Lake Town was Stephen Fry, and I will always forget that. I will always remember that, not always forget it. I will always remember that, because I love Stephen Fry with every fibre of my being.
Hashtag Schmodown Inner Geekdom, hey.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, that wasn't a particularly great introduction to Luke Evans.
No, but
even though he's fine.
But I liked kind of how it started. Like you hear Hobbs and his new kind of assistant person, officer helping him out. They see a team that has to do with heisting something in cars, so he automatically assumes that it's Dom's team. And
which, quite frankly, is appropriation. I'm just saying, you see a heist movie, you automatically think it's Dom. Dom's just there, being all nice.
Yeah. And then
it's racist. It's not racism.
We caught one of them. We caught one of them. So then you see it from behind, white shirt, bald, and you think it's going to be Vin Diesel. No, it's British Vin Diesel.
British Vin Diesel / discount Mark Strong.
Yeah. So I liked that, he sees this team of car thief people and he thinks it's Dom. And then when he finds out it's not Dom and that they're actually a really good team, that's when he has to involve Dom's team to stop this other team. And they have this whole, their own doppelgangers that they kind of have to compete against.
Which
because
proves
they're
for
not
a very
going
funny
against...
Roman Pierce scene.
Yes. So they're not going up against, drug lords or anything like that. They're going up against kind of their equals. So yeah. I thought that was a kind of cool way to take this one.
Definitely.
And
I think
it does breed some more ridiculous, the action is amped up into a kind of state of pure ridiculousness. But it's still, you kind of just suspend disbelief and just get into it because you're having fun with this movie.
Yeah, action in 6 is definitely a little more ridiculous, but it's not too ridiculous. I mean, there's a little few. I mean, he does drive a car out of a burning plane.
Yeah, out of the nose of the burning plane.
And Vin Diesel also manages to jump from a highway bridge to another one.
To catch somebody in midair.
To catch somebody in midair and then land on a car. Which also is a little bit ridiculous. But like you said, you kind of just go with it. And I do like how they are going up against another car heisting team. Yeah. Because I think if it was another drug lord or something like that, we'd just be thinking, oh, for God's sake, this is getting a little bit stale now. There's been 4 drug lords in these movies. One Yakuza boss and one gang. We're due a good car. We were due a villain like this, I think. And that's why I think Owen Shaw is kind of the best villain.
Yeah. Because I think, they did do the drug lord thing 3 different times, but the way they did it was in a way they tried to reinvent it and do it differently each time, which was fine. But yeah, they could definitely not have done that again. So I like that they went against their equals. And I think Shaw's whole kind of plan was to make this explosive device that he could sell for millions of dollars to people. So he was kind of trying to get these different parts to put together this massive weapon that he could sell to people.
He's also kind of the most evilly manipulative
That's true.
of all the villains as well.
And
I think
like
Luke.
that talk. I like that talk he has with Vin Diesel about how, his brother, and he brings up his brother, tells him, you always have to have a code, and his code is kind of like, you just need to use people for what you need them for and swap out parts and whatever. Whereas, he kind of calls out Vin's, thing being family, and that could actually be his downfall. So I like that they had that kind of talk about what their motives were and what their,
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of a cold-hearted approach
what their codes are. Yeah,
from Owen Shaw.
yeah,
kind of-
very cold-hearted.
Kind of very heartless person, which is unexpected for a nice British man.
Nice British man. I don't know about.
I mean,
nice,
not a
but
nice. I mean, Luke Evans himself is
he's a nice British man.
perfectly nice. Well, Welsh, but yeah, British.
Welsh.
Still British.
but yeah.
Still British if he's Welsh. I want to make that perfectly clear. Still British if he's Welsh. He's just not English,
Okay. Gotcha.
which is always confusing to those.
Us Americans.
It's always confusing to those Americans, which is if you are Scottish, you are still British. If you are Northern Irish, you are still British. If you are Welsh, you are still British. If you are English, you are still British. But you are not English if you are Welsh.
Well, thank you for that lesson, especially
Scottish.
since a big chunk of this movie takes place in British and
Well,
plays on some of those stereotypes that you do not appreciate.
I mean,
in
I would say a lot of this movie takes place in Britain, but I mean, it doesn't, does it?
it just takes place
Because
in London, which is
it
the
takes
city
place in
that is
London.
always used to kind of capture the whole aspect of Britain. Is always London.
Which isn't the case, Jeannine? No.
You get like snooty British people, and
I just think, and this is always the case, these big budget movies, it's why I was so thankful that in Avengers Infinity War, there was a whole big sequence in Edinburgh, because when the hell have you ever seen Edinburgh in a movie of that size? You haven't. It doesn't show up. You have never seen Manchester. You have never seen Liverpool. You have never seen Cardiff or Glasgow or York in a movie of this size. But you should, because these are culturally big cities. You always only ever see London. People can go to Italy and they can go to 5 different cities and everybody's fine with it. Or France is the same. Germany's the same. Russia, they have Moscow. You either go to Moscow or St. Petersburg or like far Siberia. You go to Canada, you've got Vancouver, Toronto, Montreal. I mean, Calgary if you really want to. But even like Mexico, you can go to Mexico City, you can go to Guadalajara, you can go to Cancun or like, wherever else. But you only ever go to London if you're going to Britain in a big budget movie. And I hate it. There are other places. You know this, Jeannine. There are other places.
I do know that. And I'm sorry that movies do that to your...
And it promotes evil stereotypes.
Like that snooty British man they were trying to buy cars from.
Who is the world's worst person. And is quite possibly exactly what people think of me when they first meet me. Which is
like
very damaging to my...
And racist. He sees
very racist.
Ludacris and The Rock and says, "Oh, the kitchen's round back." Like, what?
You're gonna say that? You're gonna say that to The Rock?
Yeah, right? He was pretty bold and terrible talking to a big old man like The Rock. Like,
he was racist to Ludacris as well. He was talking about how the fact that if he should have been there, he should have been wearing like excessive bling.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. He's a ridiculously racist human being. And I'm thankful that he had to give Ludacris his watch and The Rock his pants.
Clothes, yes. Like he
That
got
was
his
funny.
comeuppance.
He did, but he's also promoting evil stereotypes.
He is. And then that's unfair. I'm very sorry, Morgan.
And so is Owen Shaw. There's no actual good
racist.
British people.
Like, even the guys who run, like, the cameras, he was kind of an asshole. The guys that they questioned about the guns, they were assholes.
There's no good British people in this movie. I was expecting Natalie Emmanuel to show up, and I was disappointed.
Oh, well, you'll get her next. I promise.
Is she actually British in the movies, though, or is she putting on some sort of accent?
I think she is. I think she's British still.
Good.
But yes. She plays a character named Ramsey.
Ramsey? Yeah, I mean, no. Okay.
You'll see. But something we did not mention was we get the return of Michelle Rodriguez's Letty.
Yes, which is by far the best thing in the whole movie, and actually really what makes this movie great.
Yes. And like in 5, we get that little kind of post or mid-credit scene where Monica Fuentes, Eva Mendes' character from 2, comes with a file, gives it to The Rock, and talks to him about, hey, we have a new team, da-da-da-da-da. This might be your team that you're looking for, but there's also something interesting, and shows him a picture of Letty. And I actually heard Michelle Rodriguez talk about how she didn't even know she was returning to the series until she actually saw that scene and saw her picture, and she's like, what? Like, nobody told her, no one asked her ahead of time. She just saw that scene and realized that, oh my gosh, okay, I guess I'm back. Like,
that's some bad communication there, Vin Diesel.
Yeah, so I like that whole element that it added to the story of them trying to get her back, and that even gave kind of Paul Walker some things to do because, you know, he felt bad about him getting her in undercover to, you know, and that's kind of what got her into the situation, and then you kind of find
where
out
she
wasn't
died.
Killed. Yeah, she lost her memory, and Shaw was sent to kill her because he knows Braga, and that's how Braga comes back, and that whole element of Brian having to go undercover in prison, and they even bring back that guy who he knows he broke in 4. Like,
yeah.
Yeah.
It's very good.
I like that they were kind of enriching the story with things that we've seen in other movies. Like, it gets very complex, and it could get very muddled, but I appreciate the effort to tie things together and bring back things that maybe you didn't think were very important, and it just makes for kind of richer storytelling and interesting universe building, which, yeah, I mean, this whole universe is kind of silly how it kind of became a universe, but I wholeheartedly appreciate the effort of trying to make things tie together and make sense.
Yeah, I mean, when I said, like, that Fast 5 is kind of perfect in everything it does, you know, with its team, its action, its perfectly simple story, but also kind of effective. It's kind of easy. This has a lot more story to it, but with 6, the story is kind of the standout aspect of it, I think, and Letty herself. And I go back through and listen to the other episodes in this series. I'm always like, where's Michelle Rodriguez?
Where's Letty?
Well, I thought Michelle Rodriguez was in all of these movies. I thought that was the deal I was getting myself into here.
When she died, I'm sure you got very confused. So seeing her come back and realizing, oh my gosh, she didn't die. She lost her memory.
Well, I knew she didn't die because I'd seen her in trailers for like the 8th one.
Yes. So how does that work? How did she come back? Like, what happened? So you get all your answers kind of here.
Yeah.
She really did lose her memory. She doesn't remember anything, but like, Dom is not going to give up on her, and they have this moment where he's kind of telling her what her scars mean.
And it's really sweet.
Yeah, and Paul feels, Brian feels really bad that he was responsible. He feels really responsible for all of that, and I like that she kind of gives him that out and says, I don't remember anything, but I know that I'm not somebody that you can make do things. So if I went undercover, you didn't make me do it. It was my choice because I know that, at least that about myself. So I like little nuggets like that.
There is a lot of very, very sweet character moments in 6.
Yeah.
More so than 5, because 5 is kind of bringing everybody together, and that's what stands out in that. But yeah, 6, there's kind of a lot of sentimentality in 6, which is also really nice. Vin Diesel actually acts pretty well,
Yes.
which is good because I like that, and I do like Vin Diesel. I like him as a movie person.
Yeah, it's like kind of the
I mean, he's not
the head of this franchise,
he's
the
not
face of this franchise.
he's not an actor, is he?
No,
Vin
he
Diesel.
can do what he does well, I think.
Yes, and he does it very well, and I like him. That's why I always said I missed him in the second one and the third one, even though he was kind of in the third one at the end. He fits in these movies perfectly,
Yes.
and he really gets to kind of shine in 5 and 6, I think. But for a personal sort of more subtle acting,
Yeah.
6 is really his movie.
And I think in 1, you've gotten more investment in his relationship with Letty than you got out of Brian's with.
Oh, in 1, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So to kind of call back to that was really nice, I think.
Yeah, and obviously, Brian and Mia have their kid now in 6,
Yes.
and their stuff is also really sweet and very well done.
Like
and
I love
like
that when like when Vin comes to Paul and he's already talked to Hobbs, and Hobbs tells him, I need your team to stop this team. I need you to kind of get back in this life, even though you had planned to leave it.
Yeah.
But you're the only ones that can do this, and Letty's involved. And then he goes to talk to Paul, and he's kind of on the fence, or he's like hesitant to even believe that Letty's alive.
Yeah.
And Mia's kind of that voice that says, you guys are better together. You've always have been. Like, I love when she says that, because it kind of like calls back to everything and how well they work together as a team, and that they really shouldn't split up. They should just, even though that was kind of a pact they made to get out of that life. And she, even though they have a kid now, she knows how important that is for them to do this. So she's okay with it. Like, I liked all of that. Like I said, I love the little nuggets of things that kind of develop the characters and the plot that you think are throwaway things, but it really adds enough character development in such a short time. And when you have so much to do in the story and have so much action to accomplish, you need those kind of moments like that to really develop the story more in the character, so you actually get invested and you care, and you can kind of throw away, your thought when it comes to like these crazy things that are happening. But you care about them, you care about the characters, and you care about the story, that you can kind of suspend disbelief when crazy things happen, like driving through the nose of a burning plane on a billion miles long runway that just doesn't stop.
Which is, I mean, it's ridiculous. I mean, nobody has ever seen a runway that long. It might as well be the length of a country.
Yeah.
And a big country like Russia.
Or London.
Or London, the
city,
country.
Like London, the country, because that is the whole of the UK is encompassed in London.
Exactly, and that's what movies believe, Jeannine, and it's very damaging to the rest of us. We exist, Jeannine. See us. Stupid American movies. No, I'm only half joking. But I mean,
like, we talked about the kind of team comparisons, and there's a funny scene with Roman where they have kind of the other team's pictures up, and he's like, this is White Hobbs, and there's an African in a beanie. That's totally you, Tej. Here's a black dude. That's me. And then the blonde girl, hey, Brian, when did you have time to do this photo shoot? We all know that you're the hottest blonde around here. Like, this Asian dude, that's you, huh? Like, just that moment where he's just like, do I smell baby oil? And then here walks in Hobbs.
Why do I smell baby oil? It's just Hobbs.
Yeah, which comes to that pun callback at the end where I think it was totally ad-libbed by the Rock. Like, they're having a barbecue, and Roman says, here comes Hobbs, better hide the baby oil. Hobbs says, better hide that big ass forehead. Like, And you see Ludacris just start cracking up because that was totally ad-lib. Like, The Rock just pulled that out. And it was so funny.
It's so quick as well. It's so quickly
Yes.
delivered.
Yeah.
It's just, you better hide that big ass forehead.
Big ass forehead. And I love when you get those natural reactions. Like, just watch Ludacris in that scene and he just, like, spits out his drink because he was
so
not
good.
expecting that.
And I like Roman's reaction to it.
See, yeah, he's like, what?
I was just kidding. I was just joking.
Yeah.
And that you could tell that's probably his legit reaction to The Rock as well, not to Hobbs. That's Tyrese reacting to The Rock. That's not Roman reacting to Hobbs. That's just like, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to offend you, Mr.
Yeah,
Rock.
was not, and he was probably not expecting that either. So
very funny. Yeah. I like that a lot. I really like the ending scenes of 6, actually. It's very, very, like I said before, it's very sentimental movie.
Yeah.
And just a really, really, really sweet movie. It's also a very relationship heavy movie. That's what 6 sort of holds onto more than I think any other Fast and Furious movie. It's about the relationships between all the little characters. Obviously, there's emotion with Han and Giselle when Gal Gadot.
Like, because I mean, if this is all supposed to take place before Tokyo Drift, you obviously see that Han is not with anybody in Tokyo, so then you have to know if something happened to Giselle. And they have their little development with their plot, like, he's kind of talking about, have you ever thought about settling down? And she's like, I thought that's what we were doing. And then Roman's teasing him about being in love with her. And so you get all these little nuggets of their kind of development as a couple and them kind of wanting to settle down. And then in losing her in that moment because she, she's trying to save him. So I like that we lost her, like, still being a badass and also, like, going out like a hero like that.
Definitely.
So,
a nice precursor.
Sometimes when it's a character who's like, meh, like, you don't really acknowledge it. So I like that, everyone's like, where's Giselle? And they all came and hugged him. Because, like, you've seen movies where, like, people die and, like, nobody cares. Like in The Force Awakens, when frickin' Han dies and nobody goes and gives Chewbacca a hug, like, that pissed me off so bad. Like, she goes straight to Leia and, like, really, like, you spent more time with Chewie and Chewie spent the most time with Han, so really you don't give dude a hug. Like, dude just standing there, he doesn't get a medal, he doesn't get a fucking hug. Like, that's some bullshit right there. So
Chewie has been shortchanged throughout the history of Star Wars,
right? So
justice for Chewie.
They could have totally done something like that where nobody really, they just said, oh, where's Giselle? And like, oh, and then moved on. But they actually had characters come up and hug him and acknowledge it. So, the nuggets, like I said, the nuggets.
Yeah, and like I said, it's kind of it's a low-key, very sentimental franchise. Yeah. It cares a lot about its people. Like we said, you always joke about the family, but it's kind of legit.
Yeah. And they show that. They show why it's important.
Yeah.
Like in the end when he's like, name your price, and he gives the address of the house because now they've gotten their pardons and they get to go home. That. I liked that. And you see them like in the back at the table, and then, the whole rule of, Roman eating first, so he has to say the prayer, and he gives a nice little prayer and ends it with, and I'm thankful for fast cars, and then
having a nice barbecue.
Yeah, it's very nice.
It's very nice. It's very nice. And yeah, I really liked 6 too. I think 6 is helped a lot by, I don't think the action's anywhere near as good as 5, but I think the story's a lot better. I think the villain's better.
Yeah, because you kind of don't have that random drug lord. I like that they realized, we can't do this shit again. Like, we gotta come up with something different. So,
at this point in the whole franchise, I really care about all the characters, and the fact that 6 really focused on giving everybody emotion.
Yeah.
And giving everybody an emotional story in the in 6. It really, that's what I say, made it my clear second favorite so far.
Yeah. And there's a moment I mentioned when we watched this movie that while everyone kind of seems like these superheroes when it comes to driving cars and stuff, I like that there was a very real moment of Han and Roman getting their asses beat by that guy, because that guy's obviously like a real villain. He has like fighting skills, and then these two guys try to come at him and they totally suck and they can't fight. They get their asses beat. Like that seemed very real to me. Not everyone was like a super fighter who could just automatically kick ass. Like if that was a real fight against some guy who was a real criminal, these guys only know about like driving cars and stuff. They don't know about fighting. So it makes perfect sense that they would get their asses beat. And then they're like, oh, we don't have to tell anybody about this. Like, so I love that realism that they seem like superheroes and everything else, but you see them in a hand-to-hand fight and they totally suck and get their asses beat by one dude. So and I kind of appreciated that very much, that they threw some realness in there.
Yeah. Made even more the better by the fact that later in the movie, Roman Pierce jumps from a car to another car moving at high speed.
And he fights that guy, and they're kind of tussling as the car is moving.
Yeah.
And Han punches out the guy who Giselle tried to shoot and, save him. So they do get kind of a little bit of fighting redemption, I think.
I guess.
At the end on the crazy long runway. But yes.
But I definitely do agree with you. About that. I'm in a very positive Fast and Furious mindset right now. Admittedly, I was in a less positive mindset after watching 3. A bit better after 4. But now after 5 and 6, I'm all in. I am all in.
You get a badass lady underground subway fight.
Yeah. But, London, boo. So...
So, of course, it had to be in the underground, of course.
Oh, yeah. I'm surprised there wasn't a ridiculously blatant shot of Parliament. Or Buckingham Palace. Or just like, where are we? Oh, we're in London. Here's Parliament. Yeah, we get it. That's where Parliament
you get your double-decker bus. Yeah, you get it all.
Well, you get the bell of the bus. Oh, God, I'm surprised they didn't have somebody go into a phone booth. Phone box and just be like, hello, what are you doing here today?
And then they hit it with a car or something.
And they hit it with London.
But just to kind of close out, what did you think of that little mid-credit scene that brings us into Tokyo Drift and takes us into 7 and introduces the Shaw that you did know?
Admittedly, Jeannine, I'm very thankful we're now past the timeline and are right onto strict, normal, linear continuity again.
Yes.
We don't have to think about what did happen before or after Tokyo Drift anymore.
Yeah.
Because it now all happens after Tokyo Drift. I really liked the little mid-credit scene, to be honest with you. And I was trying to figure out, and I was talking to you about this, and I was trying to figure out whether in Tokyo Drift, the car that killed Han was set up by the Yakuza.
Because I feel like it was just a normal car, and they were just kind of racing through traffic, and I feel like the Yakuza was coming after him, and DK and all of them were after him, but just in the speed of the chase, a random, like, BMW or Mercedes or whatever that car was hit him, because it wasn't like some tricked out car. It was just a regular car.
Yeah.
So I always just assumed it was just some random car that hit him, because you don't see the person get out of the car or anything like that. So I think if it was a Yakuza person, they would have stepped out of the car and made like a big scene about purposely killing him. So I think that whole his death scene was an accident, and they hit the car and then the car blows up. So if that is the case, I liked that they kind of turned it into, well, this car was purposely hit him because it was actually Deckard Shaw who found Han and was trying to send a message to Vin Diesel. So I liked that they creatively found the nugget that really tied the whole universe together, because you'd think that Tokyo Drift is kind of their own thing, and how are you going to incorporate that, especially with where time-wise it happens in the story, and like what time it actually came out in real life. That I like, they kind of were clever with making it include that, because you see the car hit him, and they don't show anybody coming out of the car, so then you can kind of believe that, okay, this was purposeful. Deckard
Yeah.
Shaw's killing him to send a message and him walking away, like how they worked that all out and it looks like it's all part of the same scene.
Yeah.
I thought that was all very clever.
Yeah.
I mean, it's still going to be somewhat sloppy, but
Yeah. Definitely.
I still think how they worked with it and what they had to work with, they kind of made it come together pretty well.
It's definitely kind of the best thing they could have done. And like I
Yeah.
said, I assumed in Tokyo Drift that that was a sneaky Yakuza car because I know that the Yakuza were after Han, and that was just set up. I'm happy for that to be either way in Tokyo Drift. But obviously we don't even have to care about that anymore because it's accepted now that it was Jason Statham.
Yeah.
So, and then Jason Statham gets out the car, and then he's like, "Oh, there's someone I
You
recognize."
don't know me now, but you will, and then you'll get to see the other end of that phone call in 7. So
Yeah, and that's like obviously Jason Statham. That is obviously someone I recognize from the more recent Fast and Furious movies. Obviously, I haven't seen them, but you know they only came out in the past 4 years or so. So I've been well aware that Jason Statham is in Fast and Furious movies. And I thought originally, obviously, when the name Shaw was brought up at the start of 6, that it was going to be Statham.
yes, because
And it
of
was
Hobbs
Luke
and Shaw
Evans.
and-
Yeah. So that's fine. And I like the fact that it ties it in kind of smartly. And makes the best of an awkward situation.
Yes.
And I always like things that make the best of an awkward situation. Because what are we to do if not make the best of an awkward situation
Yes.
in life? So it's perfect.
And in podcasting.
And in podcasting. So it's, I like that. And it makes sense again because his brother, because Luke Evans is bringing up his brother throughout the movie multiple times, talking about his brother and what his brother does and what his brother said and what him and his brother used to do. So we know he has a brother.
Yeah.
And we now know at the end that his brother is Jason Statham, who I don't buy the both of them as brothers, but hell, they just got 2 British actors and
Said they're brothers.
said they're brothers. They
And
couldn't.
this kind of
They couldn't
movie
find
is, I
another.
think, right up.
They couldn't find another bald man to play Owen Shaw instead of Luke Evans. I mean, there's enough baldness. We could have had Mark Strong as instead of discount Mark Strong. We could have had actual Mark Strong. He's bald.
So it would have worked, I think. But yeah, I think this kind of franchise is definitely up Statham's alley. So I think he was a good choice.
I have also. Jason Statham has also grown on me in recent years. I used to absolutely despise Jason Statham. Just because he is what his stereotype is, but he's also a great actor when he's doing what he can do.
Yes, and his action skills are very great as well. And you'll get to see him have a fun little scene in 8, so I'm excited for you to see that. And you'll also get to see Mama Shaw at some point. So.
Mama Shaw? Who's Mama Shaw? Who plays Mama
wanna
Shaw?
know?
Yeah.
Do you want to know?
I do want to know.
Helen Mirren.
Of
Helen
course she
Mirren
does.
is
Oh,
Mama
God.
Shaw. And we'll get Sister Shaw in Hobbs and Shaw. So,
Who's Sister Shaw?
I can't remember her name, but she's the actress from Mission Impossible, the newest one, but you haven't seen that either. So,
Oh, is it
Mission Impossible movies.
Is it Rebecca Ferguson?
No, she was in the newest Mission Impossible.
What's Rebecca Ferguson been in recently then that I've seen the name? I thought she was in Hobbs and Shaw. I don't know.
She was in Men in Black.
She was in Men in
International.
Black. That's what she was in.
International.
She was in Men in Black as the weird
Vanessa-
three-handed person.
Vanessa Kirby
Vanessa Kirby, okay.
is Sister Shaw.
Sister Shaw. The discount version of Sister Sledge.
Yeah, how'd you know?
It's I didn't know. I believe we are both sweltering in our individual podcasting rooms currently,
Yes,
Jeannine.
we are.
And I think that's a good time to wrap up this episode of Morgan Hasn't Seen. We have been talking Fast 5 and Fast and Furious 6. Next episode, Jeannine, we are on Furious 7 and the Fate of the Furious. It's not called Fast 8. It's called the Fate of the Furious. And it's not
And I
even
thought
got...
they would do.
Jeannine?
I thought they would do a Fant 4 stick or a take turn and put the 8 instead of the A in Fate. But they did not do that.
Jeannine,
I thought they would do it.
It's not even got the number in the title.
I know. I thought
this is
the
first time since Fast and Furious 4 where the number hasn't been in the title.
I know.
So
they missed that opportunity to put that 8 where the A goes. I mean, it's kind of like Shrek 4 when it's called Shrek Forever After, but they don't put the 4 in there. Like,
yeah, that was stupid as well. Stupid
wasted
Shrek
number opportunities. Shoot.
Shrek 1 and 2, perfect movies. Just saying. Yeah. I mean, that's why the best title of the whole franchise is Too Fast, Too Furious.
Yeah, because you get 2 2s up in there.
Even though it's the second worst movie so far. So far, I don't know. I might hate Furious 7 or Fate of the Furious. I might just like them less than but Tokyo Drift.
I don't know.
I think something's going to have to do something particularly dreadful to be worse than Tokyo Drift for me.
Yeah, 8 gets very ridiculous, so I think you will not be a fan. Like, I mean, Brandon and I love these movies, but Brandon actually really does not like 8 at all. So,
okay.
If that tells you anything. Because him and me love 2, which is like your second least favorite. But
I still like 2.
And there's lots of quotable things, and Roman is hilarious.
I still like 2.
Yeah, we quote it on the regular.
This is why I don't like ranking things. This is why I don't like ranking things, because people think that just because something is low, it means I don't like it. I like 2.
I didn't say you didn't like it. I'm just saying, for somebody who really likes 2, in me and Brandon, he does not like 8 at all. So if that kind of maybe informs what you're in for. But you do get Tormund in 8.
Yes!
So,
So I'm obviously going to flat out adore it. I don't care. I will take Christopher Hivju in anything. Yes. And be very happy about it.
You get Missandei and Tormund, so.
Yes.
But yes.
Very happy. That's what
that is up
we
next.
will be talking about. Yes, that is what we will be talking about in the next episode. Furious 7 and Fate of the Furious. And then after that, Hobbs and Shaw will be out, and we'll be talking about that, Jeannine.
As our bonus, yes.
As our bonus. And then we'll be finishing our Fast and Furious series and moving on to the next series, which we will, I will let Jeannine tell you all what that series is at a later date, not now.
Yes. We'll save
because
it.
It's still too...
Save the nuggets. Save this nugget.
Yeah, we are still right smack bang in the middle of Fast and Furious, and I am very happy. I don't want it to get downhill from here, even though common consensus says it does get slightly more downhill from here. I am just on a little bit of a high right now with it, and I'm very thankful about that. So, yay. Jeannine, what have you got going on? Where can everybody find you? All the good stuff. Yay.
You can find me at Jeannine Dabine on Twitter and Instagram. You can check out my Patreon at JeannineLC on patreon.com. I have a tea shop where you can get a lovely It's a Wonderful Podcast shirt or a Morgan Hasn't Seen shirt or some stickers. G9 Design on TeePublic. And you can check out my articles, Machine Mondays, every week on triviasd.com. And also, you can see me on the Movie Trivia Schmodown as Jeannine the Machine. Check out the Movie Trivia Schmodown YouTube channel and like and subscribe and comment and do all the stuff and things because everybody works really hard. And yeah, so that.
It's all very good stuff. Go and check it all out because Just be nice, people. Come on. Just be nice. You can find
It's
me.
nice to be nice.
It is nice to be nice. It is very nice to be nice. You can find me on the other show on this podcast feed, the main show, It's a Wonderful Podcast, where the name of the feed gets its name from. That goes up every Friday, and we are in summer. We're having some new guests on. And this coming Friday, if you're listening to this episode on the day of release, we're having Ashley Davis on. Yay!
Yay, Ashley! Woo.
And she's great, and we're going to be talking about a movie that kind of maybe doesn't fit in the summer, but I adore this movie anyway. Hell, I'm going to say it. We're talking about Night of the Living Dead on Friday. I mean, obviously, you know I'm all about that conversation, and it's going to be a great episode, so keep your eyes out for that. The easiest way of doing that is subscribing to this podcast feed, the It's a Wonderful Podcast feed on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Castbox, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, various other podcast providers. Just subscribe and download the episodes of Morgan Hasn't Seen and of It's a Wonderful Podcast for all the goodness we give to the world, because I believe we give a lot of goodness to the world, Jeannine, even though sometimes we go a bit stupid.
We do, and that's okay.
It is okay sometimes. No, it is okay all the time to be a bit stupid, because what would this podcast be if it wasn't stupid? It wouldn't exist. So there you go. You could also find me on Twitter at the Purple Dom with a 3 instead of the E in the, because, Jeannine,
3 is the magic number.
that was beautiful this week. Thank you for that.
Thank you
for that one. You can also find me on Instagram at just the Purple Dom, and find the show, the feed, on Twitter at It's a Wonderful One to get all the updates on this show and the main show, It's a Wonderful Podcast. And that's it. Use the hashtag It's a Wonderful One as well. If you want to talk about us, use the hashtag Morgan Hasn't Seen. And talk to us about what you like about Fast and the Furious. Give those 5-star rating reviews on Apple Podcasts, because that really helps us as well. And if you do, we will read it out on the show with a huge thank you, because we are very thankful when that sort of stuff happens. Because we're just a silly show that talks about Fast and Furious because I haven't seen it. And that's the name of the game, Jeannine.
It is.
That's the name of the game. But until next time, on next Wednesday, when we'll be talking about Furious 7 and Fate of the Furious, or just from me, like I said, you can hear me on Friday talking about Night of the Living Dead with Ashley Davis, and also every Friday on It's a Wonderful Podcast, every Wednesday on Morgan Hasn't Seen. But until then, Jeannine, let's do it at the same time, because we kind of did it last week, and I was very happy. Can we do it again this week? You know I don't edit these, so we have to do it properly. Bye! I don't think we did, even though we did some very loud breathing exercise.